Hey everyone, Brian here with Guitars, Whiskey, and Golf. Don't forget to subscribe, really appreciate it. So today I thought I would do something a little bit different and talk about 4 single barrel bourbons that I am absolutely always going to have in stock. Unless I get caught having killed a bottle, which we'll talk about the new riff last night. And I got to run out to the store and restock my new riff. But I love single barrel bourbons. I love the concept of them. The fact that you're tasting not a blend of many different barrels. Even small batch bourbons are generally hundreds of barrels blended together to get a profile that particular distillery is looking for. And that's great. That's how you produce the consistency. But with single barrels, you're really you're tasting that bourbon that came out of that barrel, and you're really getting the individual characteristics of that particular batch, that particular barrel. So I really like that concept. And whether it's psychological or not, I don't know, but I do tend to really love single barrel bourbons. But here's 4 single barrel bourbons that I'm always going to have in my collection on hand. And I'm generally going to do this by price. So starting here on my left, your right, Four Roses single barrel. These come in at 100 proof. They are spicy buggers, generally speaking, which is actually the reason that I love them. In my area, I'm typically getting Four Roses single barrels right now for about 38 bucks, which is, in my opinion, a tremendous value. I love Four Roses single barrels for a variety of reasons. Number one, they have a really buttery, oily mouthfeel, which I really like. They're very bold. They tend to be, like I said, spicy buggers. But it depends on the batch or the recipe, excuse me, and the yeast strain. Four Roses uses a variety of yeast strains, I believe 5 different yeast strains. Some are designed to pull out a more fruity characteristic. Some yeast strains are designed to pull out a much more spicy yeast strain. The thing that bugs me, though, on some of the Four Roses single barrels is the yeast strain or the recipe is not mentioned, which kind of bugs me because I'd like to take note of the recipe that I particularly like the most and then make sure when I'm buying a Four Roses single barrel, I get that one. But in general, like I said, they're all, I've got some in my glass here. Yeah, I mean, they're just delicious bourbons. And right now at 38 bucks, this has to be one of the best values in bourbon out there. There's no doubt about it. And at 38 bucks, I got to tell you, Four Roses single barrels make amazing old fashions because of the proof point is at 100, which is kind of, in my opinion, where you want to be at least in a cocktail, because as you start adding ingredients, you add ice, which melts and it proofs down the cocktail essentially. The lower the proof point, the weaker the cocktail is going to come across. So Four Roses single barrels really stand up in cocktails because of their spicy characteristics. So I've made tremendous old fashions with these. So Four Roses single barrels, enough about that. 38 bucks, gonna have it in my collection at all times. The next one, Knob Creek single barrel, 120 proof. To me, when I'm going for that really nutty profile, that Jim Beam nutty profile, a Knob Creek single barrel, 120 proof is going to be my go-to pull. I love them. They're, right around 50 bucks. Sometimes they're actually pretty hard to find. One liquor store might have several and another might not have any. Obviously, we all see Knob Creek 9 out there at every liquor store, but the Knob Creek single barrels, sometimes, depending on your area, might be a little bit tougher to find. Finishing off that Four Roses. But the Knob Creek single barrel, again, like I said, has that real peanut buttery quality. And at the 120 proof, it really just amps up the flavors and becomes a much more refined and, in my opinion, delicious bourbon over the Knob Creek 9. Knob Creek 9 is good, but the single barrels are tremendous. So 38 bucks for the Four Roses, around 50 for the Knob Creek 9, single barrel, 120 proof. Another must-have in my my single barrel collection at all times. So I'm sad. Last night I killed off my New Riff single barrel that I had on hand, and I am not going to be walking. I'm going to be running to my local liquor store for another New Riff single barrel. These run around 55 bucks. Worth every penny. This particular one was a fruit bomb. And to be honest with you, I have a tough time discerning fruit on my nose and the palate. It's not my strong suit. But this one was just a fruit bomb. And it was all these summer fruits, peach. I got some apple, and even a little bit of strawberry. So this was an absolute delicious summer fruit bomb. I'm going to be all over New Riff single barrels at all times. I've got to have one in my collection. I just absolutely love them. And at 55 bucks, it's like a no-brainer. And then last but not least, the most expensive single barrel that I'm gotta have in my collection at all times is a Russell's single barrel. Specifically, if you can, the private barrel selections, the store picks. This one is from Bevy's, one of my local liquor stores. And this one was about $65. At $65, this is one of the best bourbons I've ever had. It is so freaking fantastic. As you can see, I've already done some good damage to this. I brought this to my Friday night neighborhood bourbon club drink. I have a bunch of guys that I get together with every Friday night, hang out on the back porch and drink some bottles. And I brought this recently, and everybody was just, loving it. This one particular is 8 years old. It's Camp Nelson Warehouse E, Floor 4. So listen, if you are out in your local liquor store and you see these Russell's Reserve private barrel selections, pay attention to the warehouse and the floor. Like I said, this one, Camp Nelson, CNE, floor number 4. Oh my God. Not only buy one, but buy a backup. This particular one, and this one was so good that I actually started doing some research on the internet about Camp Nelson Rickhouse E, floor 4. And I actually found a lot of information about how special, for whatever reason. And honestly, I just picked this randomly. I didn't know anything about that particular Rickhouse and floor 4. So I just got lucky. But I'm just trying to pass that along to you because on the back of the label, they're going to give you the warehouse, the floor number, etc. And this one is special, really, really special. It's just this explosion of beautiful spice, warm spices, barrel char. It's wild turkey at its heart. And to me, this is like really the pinnacle of wild turkey expressions. Maybe with the exception of their limited releases, obviously, that they're getting $300 and $400 for. That is not what this video is about. These are all budget friendly for the most part. Depending on your budget, $65 I know is not chump change for any of us these days, but it's still within that reasonable range, sub $70. So these Russell's private barrel selections, fantastic. And if you can happen to find a CNE floor 4, go for it. New Riff single barrels, incredible. Knob Creek, can't go wrong. And then the Russell's, the Four Roses, 38 bucks, makes incredible cocktails. Those are 4 single barrels that I'm going to have in my collection at all times. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining Guitars, Whiskey, and Golf. Take care.